Hey there, it's Kat, and I'm back with another Mardi Gras wreath. So we're going to start with putting on our outer mesh. So you're going to use the natural curl of the mesh and kind of walk the mesh across the table, scrunching it and then pinching in the middle. Then you're going to find an open pipe cleaner on the outer edge of the wire frame and insert it. I use color coordinated pipe cleaners for demonstration purposes. You don't have to. So again, I'm going to kind of use this table and walk my fingers across so that I get to the other side and kind of roll those cut edges of the mesh under, pinching in the middle and then putting it in the next spot. I'm going to continue to do that with the purple, green, and gold, alternating, making my way around the outer ring. I'll then come back and slow down to show you the second layer, which will be the inner mesh. Okay, it's time to do the inner mesh. Now I do cut my inner mesh a little shorter than my outer, but it's the same process. So I'm going to use the natural curl of the mesh, and I'm going to walk my fingers across, rolling in that first cut edge, tuck it to the second, and tucking that second cut edge, so those edges are facing the back of my wreath. I then will find the corresponding pipe cleaner, or if you're not using color coordinated ones, then just find the open pipe cleaner and insert. Again, working that same pattern of purple, green, and gold. Okay, now we're going to work on the ribbon. So I use 10 different styles of ribbon. So I pair them up into, four cut ribbon with another set of 4 cut and make them the same throughout my wreath. I do have one pattern that will actually have 5 of each. So you have 4, which have 4 each, and then one set that will have 5 of each. And that will make for a total of 42 cut ribbons. The ribbon is cut into 12 inches and the edges are dovetailed. So I'm going to start with the set that has 5 each. And that's going to be where I start putting my ribbon on. I will kind of scrunch in the middle with my fingers of one of each pattern, and then I will crisscross them, forming like an X. I find this helps, it saves the step of having to then really separate them once they're on the wreath. So I'm going to find a starting point, lay it in the pipe cleaners. I'm going to twist the pipe cleaners and tuck those tails of those pipe cleaners to the back of my wreath. And then I'll twist behind those pipe cleaners off behind the wreath. That way I know where my ribbon is placed and that it's now to the back. When I'm putting these 5 on, I kind of think of the wreath as a clock face, starting at like the 12 o'clock position. I put the second one around the 2 o'clock position, another one around the 5 o'clock position, 7 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. In this case, I started on the inner side, so then my next one will definitely be on the outer. The third one I place will either be on the inner or outer, and depending upon which I choose when I'm placing that one, the following one will be the opposite of that. So you end up with 2 of this ribbon on the inside and 3 on the outside. So I'm going to speed up and finish putting those on. Okay, so now we got those first 5 on. Now I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to separate my ribbon into groups. So what I'm going to do is make 4 piles of each ribbon. That way I can work in segments. So I'm going to stack these up and move them to the side. I'm working with 1 stack at a time. I'll bring my wreath back in. I'll find a starting point. It doesn't matter where now. And I'm going to repeat the same process with the pairs. So I'm going to pinch the ribbon, and then it's matching the one that I paired with it, and crisscross them. Now I'm going to start filling in the rest of those open pipe cleaners. So I will alternate these ribbon, some being on the inside and some being on the outside. So as I make my way around the wreath, it is varied. And so again, it's the same process. So I'm going to push those pipe cleaners to the back and then twist them off. And I will kind of fill in one section at a time once I've used up those 4 ribbon, trying to stay in the same order that I was working with them, and make my way around the wreath. Now that all the ribbon is on, we're going to work on finishing off the back of the wreath. This is when a needle nose pliers and a pair of wire cutters comes in handy. So I will twist off that pipe cleaners, each of those pipe cleaners on the back. I'll trim them just because it makes it easier to work with, in my opinion, and then take my needle nose and kind of turn that rough edge down. The whole purpose of doing this is it allows you to kind of keep any rough surfaces from scratching the wall or the door that the wreath will be hung on. So I'm going to make my way around tying off and fastening off these pipe cleaners. Okay, so now that we've got that fastened off, we're going to now place the sign on my wreath. So I kind of want to look at it and see where I want to place this, keeping in mind any ribbon, the direction of ribbon, and what I want to be seen. Once I place it on there, I want to pull as much of the ribbon out from behind that sign as possible. I don't necessarily pull the mesh out, but I do like to see all my ribbon. I find that pulling it out now, before attaching that sign, helps because then it gets a tighter fit. If I was to pull it out after, a lot of times you have a little bit of a gap and your sign can sometimes slip. I do use fishing line on my sign to attach it to the wreath. So right now I'm just kind of pulling out that, and then I'm going to take the fishing line and kind of pick my way down through the wreath frame to the back side of my wreath. And I will pick 2 sides to work with, securing them onto the back of the wreath, and then repeat on the other side. final step I have is to put a wire so the wreath can be hung. I do like to use a 6-inch piece of wire to secure onto the back of the frame. So that way I use, and not everyone uses a wreath hanger. I actually use like a 3M hook. So this I find works much better on keeping it in position on my door.